Hello. Autumn has truly arrived. I can hear the farmer across the road combining his corn, picking for the fall has truly started. We've had a couple of hard frosts that have really knocked the L bed back from where it was just a few days ago when our tithonias were bright orange, tall. Now all their heads have dropped and they look a little sad. And we're back to talk about the planting of our bulbs in the second part of this video. I have a yellow-bellied sapsucker sitting in the pear tree, making a lot of comments on the video. So this is the basket for the L bed full of our bulbs that we went over earlier. So I've brought a couple tools along with me to help plant the bulbs. Our garden trowel and our bulb planter. I've tried to use this before, not had a lot of success. We're going to try and use it again. If at first you don't succeed, try again. And then I brought a bucket of sand, some grit. This is actually the bottom of our bucket of river rock, river pebbles that I mixed with some sand to create a gritty mix. And we're going to put that in the bottom of the holes where we plant the bulbs so they have a little bit better drainage. So the L bed is in dire need of some cleanup. I don't clean up everything, especially not my native plants, but the L bed, a lot of the ones that have died are annuals. So they're going to go become biomass for our compost heap. But that's a video for another day. But it's in dire need of some spring color. Since we created this bed this past spring, we haven't had a chance to put any bulbs in it for some fall color. Not fall color, it had plenty of fall color. Fall bulbs for some spring color. So we have a lot of bulbs that will accomplish that. Tulips, daffodils, and alliums will be that late spring, early summer. And then I have some special imperial fritillaries to work into the spring, and some lily bulbs that we're going to plant to help give us some height with white out here. And we went over all of that already. So this bed is in dire need of this color. I've only got probably an hour left of daylight, so we're going to get right into it, and I'm going to start showing you these bulbs that we're going to plant. All right, so design is a key aspect whenever you're working in your garden beds, especially for your flower borders and anywhere that you want to create an impact statement. So we have a lot of different bulbs here, and it can be confusing as to how to plant them and where we want to plant them. So we have the L bed, and we want to go all the way around the outside with these bulbs so that we can create pockets of different color. And right now in the fall is a good time to plant because we know where we have spaces in our plantings, especially with the annuals that'll come out. We know where things were planted, where our perennials will come back to, so we can avoid those areas or underfill those areas a little bit so that when they start to come through, they don't crush out our spring bulbs. So we have like these blue grape hyacinths. They are a rather small statured bulb. They only get to be 6 to 8 inches tall. They're going to be really good clustered in areas along the front for that big impact. Then we have something like these narcissus, these geranium daffodils. They get to be 16 inches tall. They can hold their own a little bit more, but for a more naturalistic look, some of that impact, we'll do a few clumps of these. We've got 10 bulbs. So whenever you're planting, you want to try and plant in odd numbers. 10 isn't odd, but we'll make it work. We'll probably do a couple clumps of 5 for that color effect. Then the mountain hood daffodils, bigger, probably spread them out a little bit more, 15 of them. So if we have 5 clumps or 2 clumps of 5 of the geranium daffodil, then we can do 3 clumps of 5 of the mountain hood, spread them out, interplant them, and create impact that way. Lots of tulips for different color. Probably keep those in similar groups. Do the same thing that we're kind of doing with the daffodils. But then we have our bigger statement plants. So our lilium album, this regal album trumpet lily, this is going to be a statement plant. It's going to be tall. We're going to want to plant these, spread these out along the back of our borders, and probably do 3 on this side, a few on the other side where our peppers currently are, because I ran out of room. But we really want to start filling up the other side of the beds as well. But then we have one of our showpiece bulbs is these crown imperial fritillaries, and I think I'm going to put these 3 bulbs right here in the front, so that they stand out and there's something that I can see frequently when I'm walking out here, and they are what I want to see. And then I've got my different alliums hanging around. We've got a big bunch of blue alliums. We've got 15 bulbs, but then we have 3, those are smaller blue ones. We have 3 big white ones. And so I might plant a few of the blue ones on this side, but I think I'm going to try and do a lot of those in the back side of it for more of an impact. Still unsure. Maybe I'll use these white ones in the front with the imperial fritillaries to create a kind of pattern that moves back and forth. So you want to think about height. You need to think about color and all of that when you're working on designing your garden beds. We are going to start right here in the front, and we've just got a couple little sage plants here in the front. We're going to start with a cluster of the hyacinths, the grape hyacinths. So we'll just dig up a little area, knock back our mulch, and for planting each of these, ooh, the ground's gotten hard. For planting each of these, you're going to want to look at the package and see how deep should these be planted. These want to be planted 3 inches and 2 to 3 inches apart. So we're going to create a little bed with our trowel here, 3 inches deep. And throw the bulbs in there. Ground is very firm after being cold. And we're going to remulch some of this later. We're trying to go with green mulch, which is more plants, but takes time. All right, I've created a little pocket there. So these will spread. So I've got 50 of these. Nice. Probably plant 5 in that hole, and keep on trucking. So I'm gonna keep bringing you along for some of these, but it's pretty self-explanatory of what you need to do. Follow the instructions, plant your bulbs, and have beautiful flowers grow in the spring. Now, important is to know how to plant the bulbs. Most of them are going to go with the pointy end up. I've made fun of a lot of people for saying this because if they're planting garlic, they're like pointy end up, and you know, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I'll say it for y'all: pointy end up. So we're gonna start popping these in the ground. Got a little design going in my head here, and we're gonna start to see how it plays out. So I finished up the L bed the other day with a little bit of covert planting during the night, using a headlamp. Had to get it done, so whatever it took. So now we're over in the Rosarium terrace, at least the beginnings of it. It's our back patio that has roses, peonies. It's going to be expanded, be lovely, be covered with roses, rose-like and rose complementing flowers. So here's our knockout rose, and in front of it I'm going to plant some of these salmon impression tulips, and they want to be planted 6 inches deep. So and they want to be planted 3 to 6 inches apart. So I've been trying with my best effort to use the bulb planter. It is pretty shoddy. It bends very easily. I'm going to try and get a foot press one in the future. So it's very similar, a little bit deeper. You can stand on it and press your foot in, and then it brings out a core sample for you to plant with. But we're going to plant some of these bulbs in front of these knockout roses, between there and these peonies right behind me. Now the peonies get pretty large in the summer, and I don't want them starving the tulips. So as of right now, I'm not planting any bulbs in front of them, but eventually we may get to the point where we do want some bulbs in front of them, and we'll have to make that decision at that time. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in here and clear back some of this mulch. And I had forgotten that we had put down weed block, so that's going to make this more challenging. But we are going to figure it out. So what we'll do is we will cut an X in it, and I can stab one in it. There we go. Stab a hole, tear it apart a little bit, and then we'll try and put this back together as best we can. The whole total length of this blade is about 6 inches, so we'll dig down. Alright, so we've dug down. We're going to stick our tulip bulb down in the bottom of the hole. Make sure our pointy end is up, and cover it back up with our dirt. Put our landscaping fabric back over it and cover it back up with some mulch. And so we're going to repeat that 8 more times with the rest of our tulips here. And then we're going to move on to our gladioli and our daffodils. Okay, we've moved down a little bit, finished up by the house. We're going to work down by our peace rose and our hydrangea here. And we're going to keep on going, trying to get all this done. So we've got our Mount Hood daffodils. And we're gonna clear away some of the mulch. And get back into it. Okay, so I went ahead and pre-broke up the soil and removed a bunch of the landscape fabric. The landscape fabric doesn't allow nutrients to get down to the soil. Like most of this mulch, this wood mulch that I have would eventually break down and work its way into the soil, helping to create a lighter soil. The landscape fabric prevents that from happening and the soil underneath it becomes very claggy. So I've removed some of it. Also, if I was to top dress this with compost in the future as well, it would never break down appropriately and work its way through the landscape fabric. So there are just a few of the reasons why I don't like landscape fabric. So I took a big shovel, started breaking some of this up. We've got our daffodils. So all we really have to do is take our shovel and think about our design here. So I'm going to plant our 5 daffodils right here in front of the hydrangea, and then work our way down with some of the tulips. So think of our design. We kind of want to do odd numbers, so something like this in a staggered planting, but still kind of close together. And they want to be 6 inches deep, 4 or 6 inches apart. So we stick our trowel down in there. The ground's nice and worked up. Pull it back and shove our bulb down in the hole and cover it up. Get a little space. Bulb in the hole and cover it up. Oh, we've got a couple extras. Look at that. More than I thought. Down in the hole, cover it up. So even if things aren't perfect in your bulb design, it's okay. Helps to mimic nature a little bit better. So we'll come back, move some of the mulch back on top of this, add some more mulch in the spring. But we're going to keep going, and we'll meet back up with you. So we're just spreading them out to get an idea of how we may want to plant these. Okay, so in the well broken up soil, finally found a use for this. Works in pretty loose soil. Nice deep hole. Stick our bulb in, fill it back up. Rinse and repeat. So, no more showing you how to do things, but we're going to get dug in here. I'll see you next time.